The final galactic war. The Galactic Ultimatum. The XL-Tar Dominion had ruled the galaxy for over 10,000 years. Their fleets crushed civilizations, their armies erased entire species, and their name alone was enough to bring fear to any who dared resist. They were the masters of war, the architects of domination. And now, their attention had turned to Earth. Humanity was young compared to the vast empires of the stars. Their colonies were few, their military small, and their technology primitive by galactic standards. The XL-Tar saw them as nothing more than an insect, one that needed to be crushed before it became a problem. A single massive dreadnought arrived in Earth's orbit. It was a warship so large that it could be seen from the surface, blocking out the sun as it hovered over the planet. From its dark hull, a message was broadcast across all of Earth's channels, in every human language. This is the XL-Tar Dominion. Your world belongs to us now. Surrender and swear loyalty, or face annihilation. You have 3 days to decide. The message was simple, cold, and absolute. Across Earth, fear spread like wildfire. People gathered in the streets, watching the giant ship in the sky. Governments held emergency meetings, military leaders debated their options, and billions of voices screamed in panic. The galaxy had spoken. But deep beneath the surface of Earth, hidden away in classified war rooms, a different conversation was taking place. The secret weapon. The world's leaders stood inside a secure underground base, surrounded by holographic maps and glowing data screens. The president of the United Earth Alliance, a stern woman named Evelyn Carter, looked at the grim faces of her advisors. "We all knew this day would come," she said, her voice steady. "The question is, do we kneel or do we fight?" The room was silent for a moment. Then, General Isaac Vance, the highest-ranking officer in Earth's military, stepped forward. He was a hardened soldier, with scars on his face and fire in his eyes. "We fight," he said firmly. "They think we're weak. They think we're helpless. But they have no idea what we've been preparing for." He pressed a button on a nearby console. The holographic display shifted, revealing the classified files of Project Ragnarok. For decades, Earth had been secretly developing weapons and technology beyond what the galaxy believed possible. While humanity's outward image was that of a weak and peaceful race, in the shadows, they had been building warships, advanced AI, and devastating weapons, preparing for the day when the stars would come for them. 3 days, Carter said, staring at the enemy dreadnought above Earth. That's more than enough time to set the trap. The answer to the ultimatum. The people of Earth held their breath as the deadline approached. The XL-Tar ship remained in the sky, waiting for humanity's response. Across the galaxy, alien observers watched with curiosity. Would Earth surrender like so many others before them? Would they beg for mercy? The answer came in a single, short message, broadcast directly to the XL-Tar command ship. "Come and take us." It was a declaration of defiance, a challenge thrown in the face of the galaxy's greatest empire. The XL-Tar Dominion was caught off guard. No one had ever dared to refuse them. Not like this. On the bridge of the XL-Tar ship, High Commander Varish narrowed his reptilian eyes as he listened to the message. A deep growl rumbled in his throat. "Foolish humans," he spat. "They think they can resist us." He turned to his second-in-command. "Prepare the invasion fleet. We will burn their world to ash." The order was given. Across the Dominion, thousands of warships were mobilized. The might of an ancient empire was now descending upon Earth. They expected an easy victory. They had no idea what awaited them. The galaxy believes Earth will crumble, but humanity has never known how to kneel. The trap is sprung. The XL-Tar Dominion was certain of its victory. They had crushed 1,000 worlds, wiped out entire species, and ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. To them, Earth was nothing more than an arrogant child refusing to kneel. Now, the time for diplomacy was over. From the heart of the Dominion, a massive invasion fleet was launched. Thousands of warships, from towering dreadnoughts to deadly fighter squadrons, all moving toward Sol, the system where Earth waited. At the head of the fleet sat High Commander Varish, a veteran of countless conquests. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, Doombringer, watching the glowing blue star maps before him. His cold, reptilian eyes scanned the numbers. This would be an easy victory. His voice was calm, filled with confidence. Humans are weak. They will break within hours. His officers nodded, believing every word. They had no idea what was waiting for them, crossing into the kill zone. As the Teltar fleet entered the outer edges of the Sol system, everything seemed quiet. No resistance, no defensive fleet, only the endless darkness of space and the distant glow of Earth's sun. Varish smirked. They are afraid. They do not even have the courage to face us in battle. He turned to his second in command. Advance at full speed. We will reach Earth within hours. The fleet moved forward, their engines burning bright. They never saw the trap. The moment the first Xeltar warship passed beyond Saturn's orbit, a signal activated. Across the system, thousands of invisible quantum mines, hidden in the asteroid belt, buried in planetary rings, drifting in the darkness, suddenly came to life. A heartbeat later, hell was unleashed. The mines detonated in waves, each one releasing an explosion of energy so powerful that space itself ripped apart. Shockwaves tore through the Dominion fleet. Entire cruisers vanished in an instant, shredded by invisible forces. Battleships twisted and broke, their hulls ripped open like paper. Within seconds, hundreds of Xeltar warships were gone. On the bridge of Doombringer, alarms screamed. Varish staggered as the ship shook violently, emergency lights flashing red. "What is happening?" he roared. A panicked officer stared at the data screens. Massive explosions, entire squadrons destroyed. "We don't know how." Then came the next blow. From the darkness of space, human warships emerged. Earth's hidden fleet strikes back. For years, humanity had secretly built warships in deep space shipyards, hidden beyond Neptune, in the cold blackness where no Dominion scout had ever looked. These ships were faster, deadlier, and controlled by advanced AIs, designed for one purpose: war. Now, they attacked. From every angle, Earth's fleet struck the Dominion armada. Stealth frigates slipped between enemy formations, unleashing high-speed railgun fire that tore through Xeltar hulls. Missile swarms rained down like falling stars, punching through defenses and leaving only wreckage behind. Earth's capital ships, massive war machines equipped with planetary-grade cannons, opened fire. Their weapons, electromagnetic lances, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic slugs moving at near-light speed, ripped through Dominion dreadnoughts like knives through flesh. The Xeltar fleet had entered a slaughterhouse, and they were the prey. On the bridge of Doombringer, Varish was in shock. "This is impossible," he whispered. Humanity was supposed to be weak, primitive. No species had ever resisted the Dominion like this. And yet, here they were, not just fighting back, but winning. A desperate officer shouted, "Commander, our forces are down by 30%. We need to retreat." Varish's claws tightened. Retreat. From humans. His pride screamed at him to fight to the last ship, to crush these pathetic creatures no matter the cost. But he wasn't a fool. If they didn't withdraw now, the entire fleet would be lost. His next words burned in his throat. "All ships, fall back." The first victory. The Xeltar fleet broke apart, their once mighty armada now nothing more than burning debris and fleeing warships. Humanity had won its first battle against the greatest empire in the galaxy. On Earth, the world watched in disbelief as the news came in. The invasion fleet is retreating. The word spread like wildfire. People cried in the streets. Families held each other. The fear that had gripped humanity for days was gone, replaced by something else. Hope. In the secret war room beneath Earth's surface, President Evelyn Carter stood beside General Isaac Vance, watching the battle reports. "We did it," Carter said softly. Vance nodded, his expression hard. "This was just the first wave. They will come back. Stronger." Carter turned to face him, her eyes sharp. "Then we make sure that next time, we hit them even harder." Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread fast. For the first time in history, a species had fought the Tar Dominion and won. Alien empires, once certain of humanity's doom, now watched with growing fear. The Dominion, once seen as unstoppable, had been humiliated. And as High Commander Varish sat in his war room, staring at the list of lost ships, a dark realization filled him. Earth was no ordinary world. Humanity was no ordinary species. And this war was just beginning. The first battle of the war ends with humanity victorious. The galaxy starts to take notice. The fall of Titan. The Tar Dominion had never tasted defeat, until now. The loss of their first invasion fleet to Earth's hidden defenses and counterattack had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. No species had ever resisted them like this. Humanity had done the impossible. But the Dominion would not allow it to happen again. Deep within the war chambers of the Tar High Command, a new plan was formed. They had underestimated Earth, and it had cost them. Now, they would change their strategy. Instead of attacking Earth directly, they would strike where it hurt the most. They would burn humanity's colonies to the ground. And their first target? Titan. The attack on Titan begins. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, was one of humanity's greatest colonies. It was more than just a settlement. It was a fortress world, armed with planetary shields, orbital cannons, and a garrison of elite soldiers. Titan had stood as a symbol of human strength in the outer system. If it fell, it would send a message to the entire species. Earth could not protect its own. The Dominion's second invasion fleet arrived in the Sol system, larger than the first. 10,000 warships. Leading them was Supreme Warlord Kareth, a ruthless strategist and one of the Dominion's greatest commanders. He had seen the reports of the first failed attack and had studied humanity's tactics. He would not make the same mistake. As Titan's defense stations detected the incoming fleet, alarms screamed across the colony. The sky above the moon turned red as emergency lights flashed through the cities. Evacuation orders were sent, but deep down, the people knew the truth. There was nowhere to run. The Dominion had come to destroy them all. Titan's last stand. Human warships, battle-worn from the first victory, raced to Titan's defense. Admiral Ryan Hale, commander of the Titan Defense Fleet, stood aboard the battlecruiser Resolute, staring at the enemy armada. Outnumbered 20-1, he knew the chances of survival were low. But surrender was not an option. "Broadcast to all ships," Hale ordered. "This is Admiral Hale. Titan is our home. We hold the line, no matter the cost." A chorus of affirmations echoed across the fleet. The soldiers of Titan knew what was coming, and they were ready to die fighting. As the first Dominion ships entered firing range, Titan's defenses roared to life. Massive railguns hidden beneath the moon's surface fired hypersonic slugs that punched through enemy warships, sending debris scattering through space. Orbital stations unleashed a storm of missiles, cutting through enemy ranks before they could even return fire. Titan's defense fleet charged forward, their ships weaving between enemy formations, fighting like demons. But the Dominion's numbers were too great. For every Tar ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. The shields collapsed. For hours, Titan's defenses held, but Supreme Warlord Kareth was patient. He had studied human tactics. He knew how they fought, with emotion, with desperation, and he knew how to break them. "Focus fire on their shield generators," he commanded. Thousands of Dominion ships targeted a single location, Titan's planetary shields. A storm of energy beams and torpedoes rained down. The shields flickered, struggled, and then collapsed. Titan was exposed. The massacre. The moment the shields fell, hell descended upon Titan. Zeltar warships bombarded the cities, turning skyscrapers into firestorms. The ground shook as plasma cannons burned through defenses, leaving nothing but ash and smoke. On the surface, Titan's soldiers fought to the last bullet. In the streets, in underground bunkers, in collapsing buildings, they did not surrender. But they were overwhelmed. Zeltar ground forces, monstrous war beasts, and cybernetic soldiers poured onto the colony, cutting down everything in their path. Civilians ran, screaming, as entire districts were reduced to rubble. In space, Admiral Hale's fleet was shattered. His flagship, Resolute, took a direct hit to its engines. Fire spread across the hull as alarms blared. "This is Admiral Hale," he said in his final transmission. His voice was calm, even as flames raged behind him. "To Earth, Titan has fallen. Don't let this be for nothing. Make them pay." A moment later, Resolute exploded, taking the Dominion battleship with it. The aftermath. When the battle was over, Titan was no more. Its great cities lay in ruins. Its people, millions of men, women, and children, were dead. The Dominion did not take prisoners. They left nothing but ashes. Supreme Warlord Kareth stood on the bridge of his flagship, gazing at the burning world below. "Now," he growled, "they will understand what it means to defy us." He turned his eyes toward Earth. They will be next. The rage of humanity. The fall of Titan shook humanity to its core. The celebrations after Earth's first victory turned to grief. News of the massacre spread across the planet. Billions had died. Families lost loved ones. Cities lost entire generations. And the people of Earth, once afraid, now burned with fury. In the war room beneath the surface, President Evelyn Carter listened to Admiral Hale's final message. When it ended, she turned to General Isaac Vance. "What's our next move?" she asked. Vance's hands clenched into fists. His voice was low, filled with unshakable determination. "We stop fighting for survival." He looked up, his eyes cold as steel. "We end them." The loss of Titan fuels humanity's rage. The war has become personal. The rise of the warborn. The battlefield was silent. For the first time in months, no Dominion ships rained fire upon Earth's last defenses. No monstrous alien foot soldiers marched through the ruins of once great cities. The tides of war had shifted, and the galaxy was beginning to notice. Deep within a hidden military base, beneath the frozen wastelands of Antarctica, humanity's greatest secret stood in formation. They were called the Warborn, soldiers unlike anything the universe had ever seen. Their bodies were no longer fully human. Advanced cybernetics enhanced their speed and strength, their muscles reinforced with synthetic fibers. Their brains were linked to battlefield AI, allowing them to process combat data in milliseconds. Genetic upgrades gave them resilience far beyond any normal soldier. They were faster, smarter, deadlier. They were built to win. General Eric Voss walked in front of them, his sharp blue eyes scanning the ranks. "You were created for one purpose," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Not just to fight, not just to survive, but to take the war to the enemy. The Dominion believes humanity is weak. Today, we prove them wrong." A massive holographic display flickered to life behind him, showing the Dominion's largest war factory, a fortress of steel and fire, orbiting a gas giant in the Delta Varnis system. This was where the enemy built their weapons, their warships, their monstrous biosoldiers. Without it, their invasion would grind to a halt. "This is our target," Voss continued. "It won't be easy. Their defenses are strong. Their fleet is watching. But we have something they don't: adaptability. We will strike hard, strike fast, and leave nothing standing." The Warborn did not cheer. They simply nodded. They had been trained for this moment. Operation Stormfall. The Dominion fleet guarding the war factory never saw the attack coming. A human stealth ship, using newly developed cloaking technology, slipped past their patrols. Then, in a sudden explosion of speed, drop pods launched from the ship, streaking toward the factory like meteors. Inside one of the pods, Commander Alex Work gripped his rifle. He could hear his own heartbeat, steady and controlled. Beside him, his squad, war-born soldiers like himself, checked their weapons. They had no fear. Fear had been burned out of them long ago. The moment the pod crashed into the factory's outer hull, the war-born moved with inhuman precision. Plasma bolts hissed through the air as Dominion guards reacted too slowly. Work's squad tore through them, moving like shadows, their enhanced reflexes turning combat into an art form. Explosions shook the structure as other warborn teams sabotaged power generators and ammunition stores. The factory's defense systems came online, turrets spitting fire, but the soldiers were too fast, too smart. They adapted to enemy tactics instantly, always one step ahead. In the control center, a Dominion overseer watched in horror as the factory's security forces were cut down in minutes. His species had ruled for centuries, crushing civilizations with overwhelming force. But humanity was different. They refused to break. And worse, they learned. They evolved. Work's team stormed into the control room. The overseer snarled, raising a plasma blade, but he never got the chance to use it. A single shot ended him. "We're done here," Work said, tapping his comms. "Set the charges." Minutes later, as the warborn evacuated, fire erupted through the factory. Explosions ripped through its core, tearing it apart. The Dominion fleet could only watch helplessly as their most vital war facility crumbled into space. The galaxy takes notice. News of the attack spread faster than light. The warborn were no longer a secret. Humanity, which had been expected to fall, was now fighting back and winning. On distant worlds, alien species who had suffered under the Dominion's rule began to hope. If the humans could stand against their overlords, perhaps they could too. Whispers of rebellion spread through the Dominion's ranks. Some factions even considered switching sides. The supreme warlord of the Dominion sat in his throne room, his clawed fingers digging into the stone armrests. The humans were supposed to be weak, yet here they were, turning the tide of war. "They adapt too fast," one of his generals said. "If we do not crush them now, we may never get another chance." The war had changed. Humanity was no longer the hunted. They had become something far more dangerous, warriors capable of shaping the galaxy itself. And the galaxy was terrified. The Great Betrayal. The war had dragged on for years. Humanity had fought with everything it had, pushing back the Dominion's endless forces. Victories had been won, but at a great cost. Earth was running out of time, out of soldiers, out of hope. Then, an opportunity arrived, one that promised to change everything. A group of alien defectors from the Dominion appeared in a secret meeting with Earth's leaders. They claimed they wanted to betray their own kind. They spoke of secret routes into Dominion space, of weaknesses in their core worlds. They offered a plan, one final strike to bring the war to an end. The meeting room was silent as General Carter studied the aliens. His deep-set eyes were filled with suspicion. He had fought this war too long to trust anyone so easily. "Why should we believe you?" he asked, his voice rough from years of shouting orders on the battlefield. One of the defectors, a tall, reptilian creature named Serek, stepped forward. "Because we have seen the truth," he said. "The Dominion promised us glory, but all they brought was suffering. They see us as nothing but tools for war. We want freedom, just as you do." President Hale sat at the head of the table, listening carefully. Around her, military leaders and top scientists whispered among themselves, debating the risks. Could they trust these aliens? Could this be the break humanity had been waiting for? Finally, she spoke. "If this is a trap, we will not get a second chance," she warned. "But if you are telling the truth, this could end the war." She looked around at her advisors. "We will take the risk. Prepare for the mission." The betrayal. The plan was set in motion. Earth's fleet prepared to move towards Dominion space, while the defectors were given limited access to military systems. They were meant to assist, to guide the humans towards victory. But the truth was far darker. In the dead of night, alarms blared through Earth's orbital defense stations. A massive explosion rocked the command center. Within moments, power grids failed. Weapon systems went offline. Panic spread as soldiers rushed to their posts, only to find chaos waiting for them. Inside Earth's main military base, General Carter stormed into the control room. "What the hell is happening?" he barked. A young officer turned, his face pale. "Sir, we've been sabotaged. Our defense network is shutting down from the inside." His voice cut off as another explosion shook the building. Then the real nightmare began. From the darkness of space, an enormous Dominion fleet emerged. Hundreds of warships descended toward Earth, their weapons primed for destruction. Without warning, fire rained from the sky. The first wave of attacks targeted Earth's remaining defenses, wiping out entire cities in an instant. The betrayal was complete. The battle for Earth. Fire and smoke filled the skies. The Dominion's forces landed in full strength, their monstrous soldiers spreading across the cities. War had come to humanity's home. In the ruins of New York, Commander Ryan O'Malley led a desperate counterattack. His unit, battered but determined, fired everything they had at the invaders. Explosions lit up the streets as human tanks clashed with alien war machines. "Fall back to the barricades," O'Malley shouted over the deafening blasts. His soldiers obeyed, retreating behind the remains of a collapsed skyscraper. The Dominion's warriors charged forward, relentless and brutal. O'Malley gritted his teeth as he fired his rifle, watching one of the reptilian soldiers fall. "We hold the line," he roared. "This is our planet." Across the world, the same battle was playing out. From the burning remains of London to the shattered ruins of Beijing, humanity fought with everything it had. Civilians took up arms, refusing to surrender. Every street became a battlefield, every home a fortress. But the Dominion was ruthless. Their ships hovered above, striking down any sign of resistance. Their ground forces pushed forward, crushing anyone who stood in their way. The final stand. At the heart of it all, in an underground bunker beneath Washington, President Hale watched the battle unfold on flickering screens. She saw her people dying, her world being torn apart. General Carter stood beside her, blood trickling down his forehead from a wound. "We've lost orbital control," he said grimly. "If we don't do something, Earth is finished." Hale clenched her fists. "We don't surrender," she said. "We fight." Outside, the skies burned. The war for humanity's survival had begun. The last stand of Earth. The sky above Earth burned. Massive Dominion warships hovered in the atmosphere, raining destruction upon the planet. Cities lay in ruins, their once thriving streets now choked with fire and smoke. Millions were dead, entire continents scarred beyond recognition. But humanity did not needle. Against all logic, against all odds, Earth refused to surrender. Earth, the fortress of the damned. In the Dominion's long history of conquest, they had never faced a species like this. The XL-Tar warlords had crushed thousands of worlds, and yet none had fought as ferociously as the humans. Earth should have fallen days ago, but it had become a death trap. The surviving nations of humanity had poured every last resource into a desperate final stand. The planet's entire defensive network had been activated. Eye-controlled drone swarms, underground missile silos, and massive orbital railguns hidden beneath the mountains. Every street, every building, every ruin had become a battleground. And in the shadows, something even deadlier lurked: the Warborn. The Warborn, assassins in the dark. The Warborn were Earth's most elite soldiers, enhanced beyond human limits. They had been created in secret, trained for a war that humanity had always feared would come. And now, that war was here. Clad in adaptive stealth armor, moving like ghosts, the Warborn struck deep behind enemy lines. Their mission was simple: kill the Dominion's commanders. In the smoldering ruins of New London, a war-born unit crept through the shadows. Their leader, Sergeant Elias Kane, signaled his squad to halt. Ahead, standing in the wreckage of a collapsed skyscraper, was their target, General Vrexus, the Butcher of Titan. The Dominion general stood surrounded by his Xeltar bodyguards, towering reptilian warriors encased in plasma armor. Kane took a slow breath. His heart did not race, his hands did not tremble. His squad had one mission, and they would not fail. Silently, they raised their antimatter rifles and opened fire. The first shot erased a Xeltar warrior in a burst of burning light. The second shot ripped through another. Chaos erupted as the warborn descended upon their prey. They moved with inhuman speed, weaving through enemy fire, blades flashing. Within seconds, the elite bodyguards lay dead. Vrexus snarled, drawing his energy blade, but he was already too late. Kane's knife sank into the alien's throat, severing its spinal cord. The Dominion general's body collapsed. His blood mixed with the ashes of Earth. Another warlord had fallen. Another message had been sent. Humanity would never bow. The battle in orbit. Above Earth, the space battle raged on. The Dominion's fleet had expected an easy victory, but instead, they faced a storm of human resistance. Hidden orbital railguns fired hypersonic rounds that pierced through enemy battleships, shattering their hulls like glass. Drone fleets, controlled by AI battle matrices, swarmed through the void, weaving between enemy fire, tearing apart Dominion warships with surgical precision. For every human ship destroyed, 3 Dominion vessels fell with them. The tide was turning. The fall of the Dominion's morale. In the war room of the Xeltar flagship, Supreme Warlord Kareth watched in frustration. This was not how it was supposed to go. Earth should have been crushed by now. Its people should have been broken. But instead, they kept fighting. Even as their cities burned, even as their armies fell, even as death surrounded them. Kareth turned to his generals, his voice filled with disbelief. "Why do they keep resisting?" he growled. His second in command, General Tharixal, bared his fangs. "They are illogical. Any other species would have surrendered by now." Kareth's claws tightened around the armrest of his command throne. This was no ordinary war. This was a species fighting for its very existence, and Kareth was beginning to realize. The humans would never stop. The Dominion begins to falter. For the first time, the invincible Dominion was stalling. Their forces, once so overwhelming, were starting to break. For every human soldier killed, another rose to take their place. For every building destroyed, another became a fortress. For every warship lost, humanity made the sacrifice worth it. The Xeltar warlords, so used to easy victories, began to hesitate. What if they couldn't win? What if Earth was their graveyard? The turning point. Deep beneath the ruins of Washington, D.C., in a hidden bunker, President Evelyn Carter stood before a council of exhausted but determined leaders. She looked at the holographic display, millions dead, cities in ruins. But the Dominion's forces were slowing down, breaking. She turned to General Vance. "Is this enough?" she asked. The old general, scared and battle-worn, exhaled. "Not yet." He looked up, eyes burning with the same fury that had kept Earth alive this long. "But we've made them bleed." He placed a single data chip on the table. "And now," he said, voice hard as steel, "we hit back." The final phase of Project Ragnarok was about to begin. Humanity was done playing defense. Now it was their turn to invade. The Dominion's invasion is stalling. But will it be enough? Here's the final part of your story, the fall of the Dominion, written in third person with simple, engaging English. The fall of the Dominion. The stars burned red with war. For years, humanity had fought, bled, and suffered. Earth had been attacked, its cities turned to ash. Millions had died. The Dominion had sought to crush them, to erase them from existence. But now, the tide had turned. The Warborn, humanity's greatest warriors, had led brutal counterattacks, striking at the enemy's heart. Dominion war factories lay in ruins. Their fleets were shattered. Their rule was collapsing. And now, the final blow was coming. Humanity had one last mission, one final strike. The throne world of the Dominion, Primorax, was the beating heart of the enemy empire. A planet covered in black spires and towering fortresses, it was the home of the supreme warlord and the seat of Dominion power. No enemy had ever set foot on its surface. No species had ever dared to challenge it. Until now. The final invasion. High above Primorax, Earth's largest fleet had gathered. Warships built in the fires of desperation, armed with weapons that had been tested in the blood of war. At the center of it all, the Warborn prepared for battle. They stood in the hangars of their dropships, weapons in hand, their cybernetic eyes scanning data feeds. Their mission was simple: take the Dominion's capital, force the Supreme Warlord to surrender, and end this war once and for all. Commander Alex Rourke stood at the front of his squad. He had fought in every major battle since Earth's darkest days. He had seen friends die, cities fall, and worlds burn. But this was different. This was the end. All these years, the Dominion thought we were nothing, Rourke said, his voice steady. They saw us as insects, weak, inferior, but look where we are now. His soldiers grinned, their enhanced bodies thrumming with power. We end this today, he finished. Then the alarms blared. The order was given. The attack had begun. War on alien soil. Dropships roared through Primorax's atmosphere, dodging enemy anti-air fire. Thousands of warborn soldiers descended, their armored boots slamming onto alien soil. The city before them was a nightmare of steel and fire, towering structures filled with enemy snipers, streets crawling with Dominion war beasts, the sky darkened by enemy warships. The Warborn charge. They moved like shadows, faster and stronger than anything the Dominion had ever faced. Plasma bolts screamed through the air, but the Warborn dodged them with inhuman speed. Their rifles tore through enemy armor. Their cybernetic reflexes made them unstoppable. For the first time in history, the Dominion was being hunted on their own world. The Supreme Warlord watched from his palace, his claws tightening around his throne. The humans were here, on Primorax. It was unthinkable, impossible. Yet it was happening. His generals whispered in fear. The Warborn could not be stopped. The Dominion's forces were being pushed back, street by street, building by building. The city was falling. And then the real nightmare arrived. Project Ragnarok. Far above the battlefield, hidden within the human fleet, a massive warship activated its systems. This was Project Ragnarok, humanity's final weapon, a planet killer. The ship carried a super weapon designed in the darkest days of the war, a weapon so powerful it could tear a world apart. The message was sent to the Dominion's leadership, a simple warning: surrender now, or Primorax dies. The Supreme Warlord stared at the transmission. He could see the devastation outside his palace. He could hear the screams of his people. And he could see the Ragnarok weapon charging. No bluff, no mercy. Humanity had been pushed too far. If he refused, his world would be reduced to dust. The end of the war. The order came. A single word echoed through the Dominion's vast military network: surrender. The Dominion's forces dropped their weapons. Their warships powered down. Across the galaxy, the mighty empire that had once ruled with an iron fist collapsed in an instant. Humanity had won. But the galaxy had changed forever. The aftermath. On Earth, people cheered. The war was over. The Dominion was broken. Humanity had survived. But in the shadows of the universe, fear grew. Once, Earth had been seen as weak, a minor species, destined to serve or die. Now, they were something else. They had defied an empire. They had conquered the unconquerable. They had created super soldiers, built planet-killing weapons. They had become the most dangerous force in the galaxy. And the galaxy would never underestimate them again.